Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to another half-hour segment. Are you ready? This time, it's just you and me, solo tú y yo. Solemos decir aquí just, también puedo decir only you and me, pero se dice incluso más y mucho más, creo yo, just you and me. A pesar de la canción, only you will make my heart, etc. Okay, it's just you and me, so let's start. Could you and I speak French when we were little? No, we couldn't. Can you and I see each other? Well, you can see me, but I can't see you. I have to use my imagination. I have to use my imagination to imagine that you are there watching me. So, let's assume. Supongamos. Aquí digo asumamos, pero asumir en inglés tiene dos significados. Asumir, como aquí, asumir el mando, pero también suponer. Supongamos, let's assume that I can see you. So, you can see me, I can see you, so we can see each other, el uno al otro. We can see one another, versión distinta de lo mismo. Prefiero each other porque se maneja mejor. We can see each other. I can see you, you can see me. Aquí estoy usando can. En español también es correcto. Puedo veros, me podéis ver, nosotros nos podemos ver. We can see each other. Pero en español muchas veces suprimís el can, el poder, y vais directamente al verbo. Os veo, me ves, nos vemos. Ok, pero en inglés no. I see you significa yo tengo la costumbre de veros. Eso se llama el presente habitual. I see you every day. You see me every day. You see me on Mondays. You see me on Tuesdays. You see me on Wednesdays. Estoy explicando acciones habituales. En este caso, ¿con qué frecuencia me veis? Pues a lo mejor me veis todos los días, a varias horas, o a veces lo sabrá que me veis una vez a la semana. ¿Ok? You see me, pero en inglés, ahora mismo, ¿me ves? ¿Me veis vosotros? ¿Me ven ustedes? En inglés no se puede decir, do you see me? Se dice, can you see me? Y con los verbos de sentido, es así, I can see you, but I can't smell you, because you're on the other side of a camera. And you can see me, but you can't smell me. You can't taste me, okay? You can't touch me, but you can see me and you can hear me. Siempre con can. Ojo. Ahora en castellano no hace falta. Me veis y me oís, pero no me podáis. Aquí sí el poder tocar, okay? Ni oler. All right. 5 senses: to taste, to smell, to hear, to see, and to touch. Those are the 5 verbs of sense. Okay, escrito sense. The 5 verbs of sense. And it's interesting because with these verbs, we always use can. I can see you, I can hear you, I can smell you, I can taste you, I can touch you. Depending on who you are, I would like to be able to touch you or to taste you, to smell you, to hear you, and to see you. Okay, to see. Ahora, lo interesante también con los verbos de sentido es que no usamos la palabra well, usamos good. Literalmente digo, te veo bien, es tú tienes un look good. You look good. You look good. Este café. Oh, this coffee. It smells good. No se dice nunca, it smells well. En castellano sí. ¿Cómo huele el café? Huele muy bien, huele muy bien. Pues en inglés no, huele muy bueno. Y suena en plan indio, pero así es en inglés. Smells good. It tastes good, too. So this coffee smells good, and this coffee tastes good. It smells good, and it tastes good. And it looks good. It looks delicious. Wow. It looks good. All right? And today, me siento bien, me encuentro bien. I feel good. No se dice I feel well. Se puede decir I feel well, pero si lo dices, la gente piensa que llevas un tiempo enfermo. Porque si dices I feel well today, es como si dijeras me siento hoy Me encuentro restablecido, como si llevara tiempo un poco pachucho. I feel good. Ahora, me encuentro bien. I feel good today. I feel good today. You look good. Te veo bien. Tienes buen aspecto. You look good. Tienes buen aspecto. Siempre se dice en inglés, you look good. Hey, you look good today. ¿Qué aspecto tengo? How do I look? How do I look? You look fine. Don't worry. You look fine. Pero no se dice nunca you look well. All right. Now, okay, do you and I speak to each other every day in English? Well, I speak to you, but you don't speak to me. Say something. Okay, good. Now we are speaking to each other. Okay. I'm pointing at you. Point at me. Come on, point. Point at me. Así. Come on. Lift your arm. Come on, don't be lazy. Lift your arm. Point at me. I'm pointing at you. You're pointing. You are. Contracción. You're pointing at me. We're. Fijaos en la contracción. We're pointing at each other. All right. I'm listening to you. Os oigo bien. I can hear you. Otra vez con can. You're listening to me. We are listening to each other. Okay. So, let's continue. Question. Could the German people read and write? Could most German people, la mayoría, could most German people read and write 20 years ago? Of course, most German people could read and write 20 years ago. And 100 years ago? Could most German people read and write 100 years ago? Well, let's see. 1908. Now we're in 2008, so in 1908, could most German people read and write? I imagine so. I'm sure that the vast majority, aquí decís la inmensa mayoría de la gente, en inglés solemos decir la vasta con V, la vasta mayoría. The vast, bonita palabra, me gusta. The vast majority of the German people in 1908 could read and write. In fact, there were quite a few very good authors in the early 19th century in Germany. Thomas Mann and his brother and Hermann Hesse. There were a lot of good writers. And in Spain, in 1908 was the heyday, los momentos más álgidos of Pío Baroja, Valle Inclán, Pérez de Ayala. There were a lot of, the generation of 1898 were producing a lot. Jacinto Benavente in theater. They were producing a lot in 1908. Machado was creating poetry. Juan Ramón Jiménez was creating poetry. And there were a lot of people producing, and Unamuno was poetry and novels and philosophy and general literature. So, could most Spanish people read and write? Leer y escribir. 100 years ago, yes. And 100 years before that? In 1808, that was the year Napoleon brought his armies, trajo sus ejércitos, his armies to Madrid, and put his brother, Pepe Botella, José Bonaparte, in charge of this country. And of course, question, could most people in Spain read and write 200 years ago? I don't know. I would say so. I would guess so. Supondría que sí. That maybe most people had some type of primary education in Spain. And so the illiteracy rate was probably high, but not more than 50%. Okay? Most people, la mayoría de la gente, most people in Spain could read and write 200 years ago, probably. The illiteracy rate, you say analfabetismo. We say illiteracy. Analfabeto, illiterate. Escrito illiterate, es su doble L al principio. Illiterate. Viene de la palabra literato, de literatura. Illiterate. Literate. Illiterate. Literate, you can read and write. Illiterate, you cannot read and write. And we use that expression even more importantly nowadays with computers. This computer. Can you see it? This is a computer. Now, if you don't know how to use computers or normal, everyday computer applications, some people will say you are computer illiterate. ¿Cómo diría yo? Analfabeto informático. Illiterate with the computer. Computer illiterate. Are you computer literate or computer illiterate? Do you know how to use computers? Maybe for video games, fine. But do you know how to use computers for more than just video games? Can you use Word? Can you use Excel? Can you use other applications? Can you use Access? Do you know how to use databases? It's extremely important to use a database well. Te dota de poder. It empowers you. The ability to use computers without needing other people's help. The ability to program, to create simple and perhaps more complex programs to solve your own needs. It's very, very important. Are you computer literate or computer illiterate? Only using the computer to play video games or navegar por la web or to surf the web is not computer literate. Computer literate is the ability to be able to take advantage of the immense power offered by computer technology for your own benefit or for the benefit of people who need your help. That's a person who's computer literate. So my question is again, are you computer literate? What is the illiteracy rate? What's the literacy rate in computers in Spain? In what country in the world, in cuanto a analfabetismo, what country in the world has the highest illiteracy rate? What country? Indonesia? No, Indonesia, no. People have relatively good educations in Indonesia. Yes and no. It depends on what island. On the island of Jakarta, the island where Jakarta is located, all right, Java, or on the island of Sumatra, perhaps. But in New Guinea, Nueva Guinea, New Guinea, Borneo, what's the literacy rate or illiteracy rate on those islands of Indonesia? I don't know. What's the illiteracy rate in other countries in Africa? I don't really know. Okay, next question. Now, would it be a good idea? Tell me, I'm asking you, in your opinion, would it be a good idea to give you an electric shock? Descarga eléctrica, an electric shock every time you made a mistake. Imagine I had students around this table, okay? And imagine I decided to apply the techniques of behavioral psychology. Now, there's several different schools of psychology. Se dice en inglés escuelas de pensamiento en el mundo psicológico. Escuelas de psicología. Schools of psychology. Humanism, psychoanalysis, and very important is behaviorism. Now, psychoanalysis is the famous Sigmund Freud. I don't know how to say it in Spanish. Sigmund Freud. He developed and promoted the school of psychoanalysis. And the idea of psychoanalysis is that if you have a behavior problem, if you suffer some type of mental problem, probably it's based on something that happened in your distant past. And there is a root cause, una causa raíz, decimos, a root cause. And psychoanalysis wants to go back to find the origin of your problem. And often they use hypnosis. They use hypnosis. And the doctor, the psychiatrist, or the psychologist hypnotizes you. Tercera persona singular. The psychologist hypnotizes, la P suena, hypnotizes you, and you fall into a certain kind of trance. It's not dangerous. It's exaggerated in the world of the media and television. But you are in a kind of different dimension, let's say, a different state of being. And it's easier to go back into your past. You relax more and you remember things. And the psychologist asks you questions, going back in your past to find out if something significant happened when you were a little boy or a little girl or in your adolescence, or if something happened and your mind is blocking that and you don't want to remember that. And that has a strong impact on your current psychological position or your current psychological state. That's psychoanalysis. Analizando el psique, the psyche. Now, a behavioral psychologist says, bah, that's a waste of time. Going back, hypnotizing people, going back into their past is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Waste, escrito waste, es desperdicio, derroche, despilfarrar, to waste. Waste también son residuos. Por ejemplo, residuos radiactivos. Nuclear waste. Okay? Now, waste of time es una pérdida de tiempo. Más que una pérdida, porque no es que pierdas tiempo, es que malgastas dicho tiempo. So it's a waste of time. And a behavioral psychologist said, bah, Sigmund Freud and his school of psychoanalysts, that's a waste of time. Come on, what's the problem here? The person has a nervous tic, or the person is extremely shy, or the person doesn't know how to show affection for other people. Well, that's an incorrect behavior, comportamiento. To behave is portarse o comportarse. El niño se porta mal siempre. The little boy is always behaving badly. To behave well. You need to behave well. Yes, you need to behave well. All right? You need to behave well. To behave, escrito beave, con H, que suena, H aspirada en medio. Behave. All right? Como shave. Behave. Como save, ahorrar. Behave. And to behave es comportarse o portarse o la conducta. De hecho, behaviorism en español creo que se llama el conductismo. Mediante, o sea, la ayuda psicológica mediante modificaciones de conducta. And so, imagine somebody is very, very shy and rejects people. Imagine me. Imagine that I reject you and other people and I no sé mostrar cariño. Yo huyo de eso, del contacto humano. I try to stay away from people. I don't know how to show affection. Okay? And I reject, and I am repelled. Repelido se dice en inglés. I'm repelled by you, and I can't approach people. So my mother takes me to a psychologist, and a psychoanalyst will hypnotize me or similar and try to find out if there's a root cause, una causa raíz. And then the psychoanalyst will present a therapy to help me realize, darme cuenta that that's not a valid cause, and I will change. Now the behaviorist, el conductista o el de hecho a veces se dice behaviorismo, no me sale. The behaviorists say, no, forget root causes. Let's go directly to the superficial, the surface conduct. Now this person is shy and rejects human contact and doesn't know how to show affection. Okay, we'll sit him in a special chair. And this chair has a electrical discharge, not strong, a mild. Una descarga suave, eléctrica pero incómoda. All right? A mild electrical discharge. Aquí no digo soft. Soft is suave y blando. This chair is very soft. I like this chair. It's not hard like the table. It's soft. Eso es suave. Ahora, suave como un cigarro. Some cigarettes are strong. Uf, qué fuerte. This cigarette's very strong, but the opposite is very mild. Virginia tobacco, mild cigarettes. Mild. So mild is suave. A mild electrical shock. And the little child, for example, they sit the person down, me in this case, they sit me in this chair, and there are chocolates here. And if I move towards you, I can eat the chocolate. If I move away from you, a slight discharge. And so it's uncomfortable. It's pain. Pleasure, chocolates, and pain. So I move a bit closer, and I have chocolate. I move away, electrical discharge. After 1 hour, I'm perhaps embracing you because I'm looking for pleasure and I'm avoiding pain. That's a very simple, very simplified explanation of behavior psychology. It's really applying to people practically the same type of actions we apply to animals when we train them. For example, if you want to train dolphins, sometimes, have you ever gone to SeaWorld in the United States? SeaWorld, Mundo Marino, and watched the dolphins or the whales, las orcas estas, the killer whales. Orca in English is killer whale. Ballena matadora, suena muy fuerte. killer whales. And you watch dolphins and they jump out of the water through a ring. You put a ring or a hoop and the dolphin jumps out. Perhaps 3 meters, 4 meters, goes through and goes down. What's the secret? Training. What you do is you go to the water, to this pool, el estanque, and you put a rope, una cuerda, under the water. Every time the dolphin swims over, you give the dolphin some fish. When it swims under, you don't. Okay? And then you move it up a bit. And still, every time the dolphin swims over or above, because the rope is still underwater, you give the dolphin a fish. And when it swims under, you don't. Then you raise it to the surface of the water, and every time the dolphin jumps out and goes, it's very easy, because it's not high, it's only at the surface, the dolphin, the same. And slowly you move it up out of the water, and the dolphin knows perfectly well now that if it jumps over the rope, it gets a reward, premio, recompensa, a reward. If it goes under, nothing, punishment. And so the dolphin very quickly realizes that if it goes over, and you keep raising it up, and you change it from a rope to a hoop. Hoop es lo mismo que se usa para el aro en el baloncesto, the hoop, okay? And it jumps through. So you train them, como los perros de Pavlov, like Pavlov's dogs. You train them, okay? And behavioral psychologists think you can do the same with people. And sometimes they're successful. People who are afraid of flying, people who are afraid of spiders, people who are afraid of snakes, people who suffer phobias. Often these phobias, bam, can be broken through behavioral techniques. Sometimes it takes a long time, but people learn that not possessing that phobia gives pleasure, and possessing that phobia gives pain. So my question is for you. If you were my student sitting at this table, if I connected the table with electrical wires to give you a mild electric shock every time you made a mistake, do you think you would learn more quickly? Do you think you would pay more attention? Recuerda, la atención en inglés se paga, no se presta. Would you pay more attention? If I discharged a bit of electricity, would you make a stronger effort to remember the rules and to reproduce the grammar correctly? Personally, I don't think so. But it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question because my students make mistakes all the time. All the time. I remind you and the rest of my students, ay, por favor, no se pone tú después de más. Se dice, I must go. Nunca se dice, I must to go. Y sin embargo, 1000 veces he oído, I must to go. What do I have to do how many times do I have to correct you? Okay, to bring you from this camp over to this. Okay, how many times? Maybe if I use mild electrical discharge, some punishment or some reward, un premio y castigo, maybe it will work better. Who knows? I really don't think so. So the question is, would it be a good idea if you received an electric shock every time you made a mistake in your English class? I don't think it would be very good, but I've never tried it. And you never know. Until you try something, you never know. Last question, because we have about 1 minute left. How much time left? 1 minute? Okay. Is there an elephant in this room? No, there isn't an elephant. Could an elephant fit in this room? ¿Podría caber aquí un elefante? Claro, fácil. And there's a big door. Behind the camera over there, there's a big door, so we could bring the elephant through the door. And I think at least one elephant could fit through that door over there. And then in the room, I could put one elephant over here, I could put another elephant over here, I could put an elephant between myself and the camera, and we could make a lot of elephant fit. Probably in this room, 20 elephants could fit in this television studio. 20 elefantes podrían caber. Fit, F-I-T. La palabra fit tiene 7 significados diferentes o más. I don't have time now. O hacer caber. I could fit. Incluso fit como verbo. I could fit. Yo podría hacer caber 20 elefantes en esta habitación. I could fit. No se dice make fit. I could fit 20 elephants here, but I'm not going to do it now because it's time to take a break. So, I'll be back in just a few minutes, with or without elephants, who knows, to continue with more English. Okay, see you in a few minutes.